Chapter 10. Death's Kiss. The next morning, Dr. Seward hurried to Lucy's house. He knocked on the door, but no one answered. He was afraid something terrible had happened. He went all the way around the house, looking for a way to get in. Soon, Professor Van Helsing also arrived. Dr. Seward explained the situation. "I fear we are too late," the professor said. "Hurry! If we cannot find a way in, we must break in." At the back of the house, the two doctors were able to force open a kitchen window and climb into the house. They found the two servants still sleeping from the wine they had taken. The doctors ran up the stairs to Lucy's room. What a sight they saw! Both Lucy and her mother lay on the bed. On the mother's face was an expression of deep horror. Lucy was as white as a ghost. The two wounds on her throat had been opened again and looked raw. The professor ran over to listen for her heartbeat. "It's not too late," he cried. "She's still alive. She needs another transfusion of blood," Dr. Seward said. "First, we must warm her," Van Helsing told him. "She is almost as cold as her dead mother. Prepare a hot bath at once." Dr. Seward woke the maids and they heated water for a bath. They carried Lucy to the warm water and soaked her in it. "I know this is a struggle against death," Dr. Seward said. "If that were all it was, I would stop right now and let her die in peace," Van Helsing answered. "There is no life left for her. This is something even more serious." Lucy's heart began to beat a little more strongly as they dried her off with hot sheets. Just at that moment, there was a knock at the door. The visitor was Quincy Morris, Arthur's American friend. He was coming with a message from Arthur, who had to rush to the bedside of his dying father. "You are just in time," Dr. Seward said. In a flash, Quincy agreed to give some of his blood to Lucy. "I am glad to help her," he said. "I also loved that little lady and wanted to marry her." The two doctors prepared for a transfusion. Lucy improved, but only slightly. "How is this possible?" Quincy asked when the operation was over. "How could she receive the blood of 4 strong men in a matter of days? Where did it all go?" "I can't even begin to guess," Dr. Seward said. "This is one of the deepest mysteries I have ever come across." That afternoon, Lucy finally awoke. She seemed a little better as she looked around the room, but all of a sudden she gave out a loud cry and began to weep. She remembered now that her dear mother was dead. The whole of the afternoon she spent in low spirits, sobbing now and then in her grief. About sunset she eased into a light sleep. She slept fitfully all night as the two doctors took turns watching her. Quincy Morris patrolled around the outside of the house, in case the wolves returned. In the morning she seemed weaker. She could hardly turn her head and would eat almost nothing. She frequently drifted off to sleep. Dr. Seward noticed how haggard she looked. Her teeth appeared longer and sharper than usual. They sent a telegram to Arthur. He rushed back to London. He was shocked when he saw Lucy's face. He wanted to stay with her every minute, but Professor Van Helsing insisted that he get some rest. They had moved Lucy into another room, where they could lock the window. Again, the professor put flowers of garlic everywhere. As Dr. Seward sat with the poor, sick girl, he noticed that her teeth were even sharper than in the morning. The 2 canine teeth were longer than the rest and sharply pointed. "What is that flapping sound at the window?" the doctor asked himself. He went to see. It was a big bat that kept scraping against the glass. When he returned to Lucy, he found that in her sleep, she had torn the garlic from around her throat, as if she couldn't stand it. He replaced it as best he could. At dawn, Van Helsing came to relieve Dr. Seward. He took a careful look at Lucy, and suddenly drew in his breath. "Hurry, open the curtain," he said. "I need light." Dr. Seward drew back the curtain. He rushed back to the bedside. Van Helsing was examining Lucy's throat. "Look," he said. "The 2 wounds. The 2 wounds had absolutely disappeared. "What does it mean, Professor?" Dr. Seward asked. "She is dying. All that matters now is whether she dies awake or asleep. Tell Arthur to come right away." Dr. Seward hurried to where Arthur was still asleep. "Call on all your strength now, my friend," he said. "I'm afraid that the end is near." When they reached Lucy's room, they found that Van Helsing had brushed her hair and made her look a lot like her old self. "Arthur, my love," she whispered. "Come near." Arthur, with tears in his eyes, sat near Lucy's bed. He held her hand as she drifted off to sleep. Her breathing became heavy, and Dr. Seward again noted her long, pointed teeth. When she awoke once more, she said, "Kiss me, Arthur. Please kiss me." "No!" Van Helsing said. He grabbed Arthur by the neck and pulled him away. "You must not kiss her." Arthur was startled. What could this mean? "Thank you," Lucy whispered to the professor. "You are a true friend. Guard him from me, and give me peace." "I will, I swear," Van Helsing told her. To Arthur he said, "Kiss her once, but only on the forehead." He did so. Lucy's breath grew harsh again, then it stopped. "She is dead," Van Helsing said. Dr. Seward led Arthur into another room. When he returned, he found Van Helsing studying Lucy's face. Death had restored much of her beauty. She seemed less pale than she had during the difficult weeks of her illness. "Well, poor girl," Dr. Seward said. "At last you are in peace." Van Helsing turned to him and with a grave and solemn voice said, "It is not so. This is only the beginning."